Hey guys, Ablehawk here. Still disappointed with Warcraft 3 Reforged? Why don't I get your mind off that with some trivia from my first love in PC gaming, Warcraft 2. I wish I could go through each campaign of Tides of Darkness and Beyond the Dark Portal and point out interesting secrets like I did with my Warcraft 3 series, but unlike Warcraft 3, Warcraft 2 is a simple game. It's easy to see every inch of every 2D map, and since there are no heroes that can carry items, there's no real way to hide anything special in the campaign maps or to even hide anything worth finding. So to find the Easter eggs in Warcraft 2, you have to dig a little deeper. You may have found this Easter egg by accident. If you scroll through the tips provided by the game, you'll find some tips whose usefulness extends beyond Warcraft 2 itself. Never pet a burning dog. Never spit into the wind. Always proceed with caution when driving through a blind intersection. Always wear bright clothing when riding a bicycle at night. Never talk to strangers. Remember to change your underwear daily. And the last one that's not a tip at all, cakes are done, people are finished. This isn't an Easter egg as much as it's a straight up glitch, but in earlier versions of the game, if you used Orc Death Knights to raise skeletons and load them into a transport ship, eventually when their summon duration ended, they'd die inside the transport and become placeholders for new units and buildings being trained or constructed. Whenever you or an enemy player trained a unit or built one, the skeleton would be replaced with it, retaining the unit's owner and everything. Kind of an interesting look into how Warcraft 2's data is working in the background while you're playing it. I think since the advent of Warcraft 2 BattleNet Edition, skeletons don't have limited summon durations anymore, so this exploit is no longer possible in current versions of the game. Either that or they take longer to die than I care to experiment with. Seriously, I waited like 10 minutes, which is a really long time in a Warcraft 2 game. Some Easter eggs can be found in the little doodads and terrain features of the game, though there aren't very many of them. In the Wasteland tile set, one of the tiles is a sign that reads RJK. This is a little hidden autograph of one of Warcraft 2's artists, Roman Kenny. Similarly, there's some writing in the snow on the Winter tile set that says Sam, a clear reference to another artist, Samwise Didier. The resolution of these tile sets make a couple doodads hard to catch. Before now, I never noticed this dinosaur footprint in the mud, or these tiny red eyes peeping out of this hole in the swamp. I love the distinctions of the buildings depending on the tile set. That's something that Warcraft 2 has over Warcraft 3. In the Winter tile sets, the buildings are covered with snow or have snowmen or Christmas lights. And in the Swamp tile set from Beyond the Dark Portal, buildings are covered in vines. Speaking of buildings, if you look at the Orc Temple of the Damned, the stone on the side here looks suspiciously like a Triforce. Considering what geeks the Blizzard staff was, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this is a nod to the Legend of Zelda series. As I mentioned earlier, alpha versions of Warcraft 2 used some images from Warcraft 1, Orcs and Humans, as placeholders while new assets were being made. But there are a few later beta icons that didn't make it into the game either. This icon may have been a precursor to Exorcism, but since it looks so much like the heal icon, it's understandable that they would have made it more distinct. This icon used to be the icon for Bloodlust before this one replaced it. And this icon is for an unholy version of the Paladin's Holy Vision spell, very similar to the Dark Vision spell the Necrolites had in Warcraft 1. The divergence in spell design between the two races eventually replaced this spell with Eye of Kilrog instead. Lastly, there's this icon called Search for Oil. In the beta of Warcraft 2, oil tankers would have to use sonar to locate oil patches before they could build platforms over them. There just seems to be this one Alliance-focused icon for this ability and no Horde variant, so I'm guessing Blizzard gave up on this mechanic pretty early on in the development process. Warcraft 2 was still in its infancy when it came to excessive clicking jokes. As is the case on Warcraft 1, most of them just involved the units getting annoyed at you bothering them without telling them what to do.
Stop that incessant clicking! Don't anger me.
Do that again and you'll pull back a stump.
But there are a few units that have actual references to pop culture. These lines from the Footmen,
"Join the army," they said. "See the world," they said,
are referenced fairly directly from an Asterix comic, but the actual wording could be a quote from as far back as 1942 in an article in Time magazine. The article was called "At Home and Abroad, Join the Army, See the World." Also, Footman had extra quotes in the shareware demo of the game.
"You've played the shareware, now buy the game. In the retail version, I'm much funnier. 8-player network with multiplayer capability with full River Audio and movies in the full retail version. Buy it now."
In the pre-release alpha version of the game, there was no difference between the units' voices, just like on Warcraft 1. Because this version was being sent to reviewers and magazine publishers, the humans had these extra lines when clicked on repeatedly.
I love your publication. Remember, a good review for Warcraft 2. You're the best writer in all the land. Have we kissed your butt enough yet?
And the orcs had these lines.
You give good review or I will chop you into little bits. You give good review, please.
And the grunt and peon said this in the shareware version.
You're good looking for a human. You buy retail version or I'll chop you into little bits. You buy full version, please. You go buy now or I sing. Yeah, 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 yeah.
The orc ships also had a different voice line, a rather half-hearted arg.
Arg. Arg.
The alpha version's pretty fun to play around with. They have a lot of low-resolution placeholder units from Warcraft 1 which look tiny in comparison to the others and really funny. Also, it's clear from the alpha interface that ore used to be a resource along with lumber and gold, possibly harvested from the rock obstacles on the map. Back to the human units, Daneth has this line,
You talking to me?
which is probably a reference to the 1976 movie Taxi Driver.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
But other than that, the only pop culture reference the Alliance has is this line when a ship is built,
Captain on the bridge.
which is from Star Trek.
Captain on the bridge.
The Horde has a few more references. Back to the grunt and peon, the phrase Zug Zug
Zug zug.
is originally from the movie Caveman. Unlike the acknowledgement in Orcish, in the movie it means sexual intercourse. The Troll Axe Thrower, probably because of his Cuban accent, references the movie Scarface with this line.
Say hello to my little friend.
Grom Hellscream has two references to songs. The first is from Iron Man by Black Sabbath,
I am Iron Man.
and the second is from Feelings by Morris Albert.
Feelings.
Korgath, or Kargath, Bladefist, has I think the very first puns in Warcraft history, which is pretty noteworthy considering how saturated the later games become. These two phrases
Need a hand? Chop chop.
are referencing the blade that replaced his severed hand, besides their idiomatic sense. He also has this slightly misquoted line from the film Dirty Harry.
Do you feel lucky, punk?
You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
You might know Warcraft II is the first Blizzard game to implement critters that explode if you click on them too many times. But did you know that the phrase the sheep say when you click on them repeatedly is a movie reference?
Ram you.
In the 1995 film Babe, Ba Ram You is part of a secret password all sheep know.
Ram you. Ram you.
Last of all, there's a secret song that can be played if you type disco into the chat bar as a cheat code. The song is called I'm a Medieval Man.
I'm a medieval man.
Its lyrics are made up of phrases from Warcraft 1 with a remixed version of a track of Warcraft 1 background music.
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Why do you keep touching me? What do you want? Why do you keep touching me? In the age of chaos, two factions battled for dominance. In the age of chaos, two factions battled for dominance.
The song was created by Blizzard in reference to Command & Conquer, a rival strategy game at the time. The song from that game is called I'm a Mechanical Man.
I'm a mechanical man.
Did you also know that many of Warcraft 2's cheat codes reference pop culture and even the educational backgrounds of the game's developers? Or that Warcraft 3 has tons of interesting quote references and behind-the-scenes stuff? Check out my channel to learn more about the awesome games Blizzard used to make. And if I missed a Warcraft 2 Easter egg, share it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time.